Viking Vik by Shoo Rayner. In the year 874, Vikings ruled the waves, sailing the seas in their powerful longships. And in a small village called Vik, Freya, Wulf and Vik were born on the same day. When Vik lost his parents in a great battle a year later, he was adopted by Freya and Wulf's family, who took him in as their own son. But Vik and Wulf never did see eye to eye. "I'm the leader." "I'm the leader," Vik yelled, thrusting his wooden sword towards the sky. "No, you're not," Wulf snarled. "I'm the leader." Wulf bounded up the sharp ridge of the Dragon Rock. The two boys stared into each other's eyes. There was no great love between them. Wulf pulled a wooden club from his belt and swung at Vik. Vik ducked, swung his sword, and caught Wulf a glancing blow on the arm. "Ow! Now you've done it," Wulf hissed. "I'll show you who's the leader." Wulf leapt on top of Vik. The two boys grappled and slid down the side of the rock into the gritty dust below. They punched, they bit, they pinched, and they kicked. Vik's dog Fleck yapped and barked and tried to help his master. The Dragon Rock. The Dragon Rock on the beach at Vik is really two rocks. They look like the head and body of a dragon that is half buried in the sand. Children have always met and played on the Dragon Rock. They pretend they're flying on the dragon's back, or they just play King of the Castle. "Stop!" shouted Freya. "Why do you two always have to fight?" She grabbed her brothers and tried to pull them apart. "For Odin's sake, will you please stop it?" Wulf lashed out, hoping to silence Vik for good. Freya's piercing scream stopped both boys in their tracks. Freya's hands were pressed to her face. She glared at Wulf. Tears fell from her brown eyes, which flashed with the anger burning inside her. "I'm sorry, Freya," Wulf began. "I didn't think. I just—" Freya pulled her hands away from her mouth. Blood trickled from her bottom lip. "You never think," she snapped back at him. The two boys hung their heads in shame. "Are you all right, Freya?" Vik asked. Freya explored her swollen lip with her tongue and checked that she still had all her teeth. "I suppose so," she mumbled. But Freya was angry. She put her hands on her hips and told the two boys exactly what she thought of them. "You're pathetic. You're always fighting to be the leader. Well, it takes more than strength to be the leader. It takes courage and brains too. You should have a competition to decide who is the leader once and for all." "Hey, that's a really good idea," said Wulf. "What sort of competition did you have in mind?" Vik asked cautiously. I'll think of something," said Freya. Competitions. Vikings love competitions to decide who is the fiercest, the strongest, the greediest, and the meanest. How about a running race? Vik suggested. No, you're easily the fastest, Freya replied. That would be unfair. How about a swimming race? Said Wulf. No, you've got such big feet you swim like a dolphin, Freya laughed. That would be unfair too. Suddenly, Freya clapped her hands. I know. You shall have an eating competition. The boys rubbed their stomachs. That sounds good, they chimed together. Okay, that's what we'll do. Freya smiled secretly to herself. I'll make the rules and choose what you eat. Okay. The boys were suspicious, but they couldn't say no to Freya, not while her lip was still swollen and lumpy. I'll go and get everything ready. Meet back here later, and no fighting, Freya ordered. It was late afternoon before Freya was ready. She placed 6 bowls in 2 rows of 3 on the dragon rock. The bowls had lids so the boys couldn't see what was inside. Fleck sniffed them with great interest. Now, you have to swallow a whole mouthful and show me your empty mouth, Freya explained. If you're sick afterwards, that's okay. Sick? Wulf yelped. What do you want us to eat? Freya handed them a bowl each, and with a flourish, she whisked the lids off and announced, eel jelly. Disgusting things to eat. Vikings don't have freezers, so most of the food in their larders is a little bit mouldy. Mouldy sheep's heads, old sour mouldy goat's milk, soft mouldy goose fat, hard dried mouldy bread. Ugh! The boys stared at the cold, shimmering, green-grey, wobbling mess in their bowls. Fleck looked disgusted. He ran away to find something nice to eat. Do we have to? Wulf whined. Vik looked at Freya's lip. This wasn't just about who became the leader. The honour of both boys was at stake. Vik took a handful of the jelly and put it in his mouth. It was the most revolting thing he had ever tasted. He tried to swallow, but his stomach wouldn't let him. Vik closed his eyes and relaxed. The jelly slid down his throat as if it were live eels wriggling their way down the river. Vik opened his empty mouth and Freya clapped her hands. Well done, she said, as Vik shuddered violently. As Vik lay on the ground retching, Wulf cleared his throat. Mmm, that was delicious. He threw his head back and showed Freya his empty mouth and clean bowl. Your stomach must be made of iron, Freya said suspiciously. Freya handed out the bowls for the next challenge. Try eating these. Worms? Vik felt sick already. We don't have to eat them all, do we? No. You only have to eat one, Freya explained, smiling sweetly, if a little bit lopsidedly. Wulf was winning. Vik knew he needed to be really brave. He chose the cleanest worm, closed his eyes, and put it in his mouth. You don't have to chew, said Freya sweetly. This time he really could feel the worm wriggling in his throat as it slithered into his stomach. He showed Freya his empty mouth. Then he fell to the ground, choking and gagging. That was delicious, Wulf boasted. What's for pudding? He'd emptied his bowl once again. Like a magician performing a trick, Freya lifted the lids off their last bowls. Vik's stomach churned. Shiny balls of frog spawn, like 100 tiny eyeballs, stared coldly at him from his bowl. He couldn't let Wulf win. He scooped up a handful and put them in his mouth. He shook his head and fought the revolting, slimy, sloppy balls down into his stomach. Freya clapped her hands. Well done, Vik. You can be sick now. That was delicious. Wulf threw his empty bowl on the floor and leapt onto the dragon rock. I ate more than Vik and I wasn't sick either. That makes me the winner. Vik lay in the dirt. His stomach ached and his throat burned. A revolting taste lingered in his mouth. He fought to keep the tears away. It was so unfair. He had eaten everything, but had still lost. Through his tears, he saw Wulf march up and down the dragon rock, preening himself like a peacock. A smug grin was plastered all over his face. But there was something about Wulf's stomach. It moved in a mysterious, gloopy way. Vik remembered a story about Thor who tricked a dragon in an eating contest. Had Wulf done the same? Had he tricked Vik and Freya? The story of Thor and the dragon. The great god Thor had an eating competition with a dragon. Beforehand, Thor filled a leather bag with porridge and hid it under his jerkin. When he had eaten his fill, he took a knife and cut the bag open. The porridge seemed to ooze out of his stomach. I'm making room for more food, he said. When the dragon realized that Thor could empty his stomach whenever he wanted, it gave up and let Thor win the competition. "You cheat!" Vik snarled. Wulf stared blankly as Vik scrambled up the rock and flew at him. Vik grappled with Wulf's belt and pulled until the buckle broke. There was a horrible, squidgy, slurping noise, and then Wulf groaned, "Ugh," as eel jelly, worms and frog spawn slid slowly down the top of his trousers. Wulf had poured the disgusting food down his leather jerkin while Freya was watching Vik being sick. He had remembered the story of Thor too. Now the revolting mess slipped down the insides of his trouser legs and into his boots. Holding himself as if he'd wet his pants, Wulf skulked back to the village to clean himself up. "You were so brave, eating all that revolting stuff," Freya told Vik. "I didn't think you'd really do it, you know." "I had to," Vik explained. "After Wulf hit you, it was the only way to regain our honour, and Wulf still cheated." Vik watched the pathetic figure of Wulf as he delicately picked his way home. Vik stood tall on the dragon rock. "You'll never be the leader," he called after Wulf. "You haven't got the guts." Thanks for listening, and make sure you are subscribed to learn English through story. And keep coming back to this channel for lots more English stories. In the meantime, keep practicing your English, and I'll see you next time. You take care. Bye-bye.